If I need to access my gun immediately in the worst case scenario, I'm distracted, the kids, the dog, the alarm, bad guy maybe in the house or coming into the house, and I reach into my staging area, my clandestine storage staging area, or maybe my quick access safe, and as I reach in, I fumble this draw and I end up hitting the trigger and firing around. Not only could I injure myself or someone else, I could also obviously render the gun inoperable, at least for some time period. So causing a malfunction, causing a negligent discharge, hurting myself, startling myself when I really need to be focused on things other than this gun going off inside of a dark box or a dark space in a worst case scenario, that's not really what I want to do. And that's why we're going to talk about whether or not this gun should have a round chambered in it. Now obviously this is a training gun. I'm going to go ahead and move it out of the way, and I'm going to bring a real gun into the picture so we can talk about what your options are for staging a defensive firearm. When we talk about staging a defensive firearm, for years we simply talked about keeping it in a holster. If it's going to be inside of a secure box like this, it's going to be inside of a safe, if I'm going to reach in, I want to make sure that when I reach in, no matter what angle, configuration I'm at, even if it's a quick access safe that I had to pick up and move and the gun got jostled around inside of it, that when I reach in, there's no way for me to hit the trigger if this is a round chambered type of carry situation. So I've got a loaded magazine in there and I've got a round chambered. I want to make sure that trigger guard is protected. So another way that we can do that with this tactical walls setup is to think about using something like this crossbreed modular holster, something that comes off of the ICE crossbreed modular belly band, and leave it right here up against the hook and loop fastener, constantly in the same position, so that every time I come into this safe, I know that I'm going to reach in. We can see that the trigger is protected. I can get my hand on the gun, pull the gun out, and now it's immediately ready to be used. Another thing that I can do, and obviously that's what this is set up for, is a trigger guard on a lanyard. So I can place one of these trigger guard units over the trigger. I can then use the magnet that's built in to the tactical walls unit to secure the gun, and once again reach in and pull, snapping the trigger guard off, and now right away I can use that gun. Another thing that you might want to think about is whether you use one of these units up against the hook and loop or you use one of these secured trigger guards is still keeping your holster inside of this staging area. The reason we keep the holster in there is, let's say that I'm going to pull the gun out, it's loaded, it's chambered, but I want to go ahead and wear the gun. I'm going to put this paddle holster on quickly, then I'm going to remove the gun and immediately go ahead and put it into the holster so that I can carry the gun around, pick up my kids, do whatever it is I need to do if I don't have an immediate use for that loaded gun. Of course, if you don't have a holster that you can place inside of the quick access area for some reason, if you don't have a trigger guard that you can mount for some reason, and if you don't have one of these modules that you can mount, then the easy answer is very simply to make sure that the gun is not chambered when you put that loaded magazine in, and now you know that when you grab your firearm to defend yourself and your family, you have one extra step, simply chambering around. That extra step doesn't take very much time. If you think about how long it takes to get the gun from the staging area to a shooting position, most of us that train and practice are going to be able to go ahead and rack that slide as we move quickly into that shooting position, even if we needed to come straight out of the safe for a defensive shot. So you have a lot of different options when it comes to staging your defensive firearm. You need to make sure that you're doing it responsibly and safely, and that means considering whether it should be chambered or not.